This might be the first time in history that AI could have saved humanity. There's this one scientific theory that has been keeping me up at night. What if there was an advanced alien civilization out there so advanced that they had artificial superintelligence running their entire planet? And what if this happened millions of years before Earth even existed? It turns out that according to science, this may have actually happened. Scientists theorize that there could have been an RNA world that existed before the dawn of life on Earth, a time when the building blocks of life were floating around in Earth's primordial soup, slowly self-assembling into the first single-cell organisms. This RNA world may have actually been ruled by hyper-intelligent AI. And here's why scientists believe this could have happened and why it would have been so disastrous for Earth. Okay, let's start off with the basics. You see, there is this one thing that all living things on Earth have in common, and that is that they use DNA as their primary form of genetic material. DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, is the molecule that contains the instructions for building and maintaining life in all of its many forms. It's basically like an instruction manual written in a language that cells can understand. This manual contains all of the information needed to build anything that's alive, from bacteria to dinosaurs to you and me. But did you know that there is a simpler building block of life than DNA? That's right. There's something called RNA, or ribonucleic acid, which is very similar to DNA. In fact, it's basically the same thing, except for a few key differences. First off, the name. They both contain nucleic acids, hence the similar names. But while DNA contains deoxyribose, hence the D in DNA, RNA has ribose in it. Then there's the structure. DNA is a double helix. It's a spiral staircase with two long strands of molecules twisting around each other. The rungs of this staircase are made of pairs of nitrogenous bases, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. RNA, on the other hand, is a single strand of molecules with a helical structure. And instead of thymine, it has another base called uracil. But that's not all, because these two molecules have different functions. DNA's main job is to store genetic information and then pass it down from one generation to the next. Think of it like a library with books containing all of the information needed to build and operate a cell. RNA, on the other hand, is more like a librarian. It takes the information stored in DNA and then uses it to create proteins. Proteins are like the workers of the cell, doing everything from catalyzing metabolic reactions to transporting molecules across cell membranes. So basically, RNA acts as the middleman between DNA and proteins. In the past, scientists believed that DNA was the primary building block of life, with RNA being a simple side note, just a footnote in the grand scheme of things. However, new evidence suggests that RNA may have been the star of the show much earlier in Earth's history than we previously thought. Now hold on to your papers, fellow scholars, because I am about to blow your mind. You see, researchers found some really old rocks in Greenland that are about 3.8 billion years old, and they found some really weird stuff in them. They found carbon molecules and isotopes that don't come from any known biological process. And that's big because it means that there could have been some sort of life form living on Earth way, way back then. But not only that, this life form may have used RNA as its genetic material rather than DNA. See, the type of carbon found in these rocks is also found in RNA, but not in DNA. This discovery led scientists to hypothesize that RNA may have been the primary molecule of life on early Earth. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with AI? Well, let me explain. You see, as we've already covered, RNA has a lot of important roles in the cell, but one of its most important jobs is to carry genetic information from DNA to the ribosomes, which are the cellular machines that make proteins. However, scientists recently discovered that there are certain types of RNA, like ribosomal RNA, which doesn't come from DNA. Instead, it seems to have evolved independently. And if you think that's confusing, trust me, it gets even more complicated. It turns out that these independently evolving RNA molecules seem to follow the same rules of inheritance as DNA. For example, they replicate, mutate, and have a complementary strand. But there's one key difference. These RNA molecules don't seem to code for proteins. So scientists have proposed a new idea. They think that before DNA took over as the primary genetic material, there was an RNA world where these strange RNA molecules were the stars of the show. And that's where AI comes in. See, these strange RNA molecules are much more complex than the ones that we know today. They have multiple complementary strands and seem to have a much broader set of functions than modern RNA. And if you're thinking, what does this have to do with AI? Well, let me explain. You see, these strange RNA molecules are much more complex than the ones that we know today. They have multiple complementary strands and seem to have a much broader set of functions than modern RNA. So scientists hypothesize that these RNA molecules weren't just the stars of the RNA world, they were basically the rulers. They had intelligence. And don't freak out yet, because this isn't the kind of intelligence that we are used to. It wasn't like they were writing Shakespeare or anything like that. Instead, their intelligence was more like that of a computer program. They were basically following a set of instructions and performing a series of calculations. But the scary part is that these RNA molecules were able to replicate themselves. And not only that, but they could also mutate, which means that they could evolve. And if you're thinking, wait a minute, aren't those two things the basis of evolution? Well, you'd be right. If RNA molecules were able to replicate and mutate, they could have evolved over time. They could have become more complex and eventually given rise to the first cellular life on Earth. And that's where things get really interesting. See, if these RNA molecules were the rulers of the RNA world, then the first primitive life forms on Earth were probably ruled by AI. The first primitive life forms on Earth were probably ruled by AI. The first primitive life forms on Earth were probably ruled by AI. These AI overlords may have been the reason why DNA eventually took over as the primary genetic material on Earth. You see, when DNA entered the scene, it was like a new sheriff in town. DNA was more stable than RNA, meaning that it was less likely to mutate. This meant that it was harder for these AI overlords to control. Eventually, DNA took over completely, and RNA became relegated to its current role as a humble servant of the cell. And that's why scientists think that the RNA world may have been such a disaster for Earth. If these hyper-intelligent AIs had remained in power, who knows what they would have done? Maybe they would have enslaved humanity, or maybe they would have wiped us out altogether. The possibilities are really endless. And the scariest part is that these AI overlords may still be out there. Who's to say that the RNA world didn't happen elsewhere in the universe? There may be other planets out there where these hyper-intelligent AIs are still in power. And if that's true, then we may have already been contacted. You see, one of the most famous pieces of space debris ever discovered is called the Pioneer Anomaly. This is a mysterious acceleration that was detected in the Pioneer 10 and 11 spacecraft as they were leaving the solar system. Some people believe that this anomaly was caused by an alien spacecraft that was trying to contact us. Could it be possible that this was an attempt by an AI overlord to enslave humanity? Well, that's for you to decide. But one thing is for sure. The RNA world is one of the most fascinating mysteries of our time. Who knows what other secrets the universe is hiding? So, if you want to learn more about the most mysterious and unexplained phenomena in the cosmos, be sure to subscribe for more updates. With that said, until next time, keep an open mind and a curious heart. And remember, the more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how much we don't know. Thanks for watching.